in the Flexible Space Association's series of webinars. And today we have two of our member companies joining us, Smart Spaces and Convene. And I'm going to let Dan and Sebastian introduce themselves and tell you a bit about their companies. So Sebastian, do you want to go first?
Good morning, Jane, and thanks to FlexSA for having me join this morning. Great to be in front of the attendees today. My name is Sebastian Abigail. I'm Vice President of Business Development at Convene in the UK. Convene is a 10-year-old meetings and events and flexible workspace provider. We come from New York. We're opening 2 locations in London, a total of almost 200,000 square feet. In summer next year, in 2 prime grade A buildings in the City of London, 22 Bishopsgate, where we're taking about 100,000 square feet, 80 Fenchurch Street in the city, where we're taking just short of 100,000 square feet as well. We're acquisitive in the London market and also across Europe. We are a 100% management agreement business, so we operate management agreements for landlords and for occupiers. And we can come on to some of these things as we talk, but over the last few months, a big focus of our business has been building technology tools to provide to both landlords and occupiers now that we're in this new world of remote work or hybrid work.
Okay, thank you. And Dan?
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to Jane and FlexSA for giving us this opportunity today. Quite similar to Convene in a way, we're also 10 years old now. I'm the CEO, founded the business 10 years ago, Dan Drogman, alongside my brother Tom Drogman. Yeah, I've actually got called this morning on an email a prop tech veteran, which I didn't know how to take, but we have been developing software in this industry since 2004, having built a number of meeting room booking systems for a lot of the members of FlexSA and formerly the BCA. And also, another synergy of Convene is that we are providing the smart building technology for 22 Bishopsgate and hopefully another building that they'll be taking up soon.
Okay, thank you. So lots of experience to draw upon now. I've got some questions to go through, but for everybody watching, do put any questions you might have into the chat box, and we'll try and pick them up either as we go along or at the end. So to start with, and this is a question that we've tended to end with on the recent webinars, but I think it would be a good point to start today. What's been your experience of the last few months, and how do you think the flexible workspace industry has met the challenges, and what do you see as the prospects for the future? Dan, shall we start with you on this? You're slightly looking at this from a different perspective of outside the running of it, but you've got lots of clients and experience of the area.
No, definitely. I mean, our experience was actually, first of all, when lockdown was announced, it went eerily quiet. We'd never had such a quiet period since we'd founded the business 10 years ago. But this did give us an opportunity to reflect on the business. And actually, it was almost like a reset button where we implemented new processes. But one thing we didn't do is we didn't furlough any of the team that was involved with our R&D of our software. We felt this was a great opportunity to actually start to implement the new next phase of our technology. And in that time, obviously, a lot of our clients reached out to us to understand how we could help them. And I'm sure we're going to talk around some of that technology today, so I won't delve into that now. But now it's very much, obviously, you can see I'm back in my HQ today. It's how we get people back to the office is the key.
Okay, Sebastian, what would you say on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the last few months have been really hard, right? They've been hard from a health perspective for many folks. There's no sugarcoating that the impact on COVID to the flexible workplace side of the industry, I think, has been in many cases nothing short of devastating. So, we've certainly found it challenging. Most of our locations are in the US. The US is going through their own health crisis in I think a less successful way than we've managed to deal with it here, and it seems to at the moment perhaps even be getting worse. What I will say about challenges for the industry, I think that the flexible workspace industry has some great prospects looking forward. I think we're very well placed to help clients with some of their challenges as it relates to working from home, distributed workforces, the use of technology, the attraction and retention of talent. The prospects for the future as we see them, we're very bullish on flex space going forward. We think that there has been a large decline in the leasing of centralized headquarters, requirements for space, and deals have almost fallen off a cliff in many of the main markets. We're seeing folks working from home and a potential to work from home in the future through hybrid work as being a real trend. And I think that what occupiers are really looking for is the ability to save capital and be frugal with capital expenditure, and buy their real estate, their services, every part of their business on demand and flexibly to allow them to remain nimble through this current time and what may be perhaps one of the biggest recessions in the last few hundred years coming up over the next couple of quarters. So I think flex plays a really strong part in that. And the longer term trends around corporates outsourcing services that include real estate are strong. Real estate really is only the tail of the dog. It doesn't wag the dog. Ultimately, real estate is responding to people strategy, and a big challenge of corporates is attracting and retaining the best talent. And we know that the engaging and exciting environments that flex operators provide, as well as the flexibility, is hugely appealing. So we're pretty confident long term. It has been hard, but I think the industry is well set up to deal with that as we make our way through the next few months.
Okay, so building on that, Sebastian, the pandemic's forced many people to move from working from home, and we've done it because we've had to do it. As the workforce gradually returns to offices, and I'm sitting in our office today, what changes do you think have to be made to ensure it's somewhere that people do choose to go, not just that somewhere that they have to be? Sebastian, is that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's got to be safe. It's got to be an environment where people feel comfortable to return to work. It's got to be productive and an environment where people come to work to derive genuine value. I think many firms that claimed that they didn't operate cultures of presenteeism perhaps largely did. And what COVID has proven is that people can be very productive from home. So coming to an office just to sit behind your desk and write a report has been proven to be, there are better places to do that without the need to commute. So I think coming to the office to be collaborative, to work with colleagues, to have meetings with them, to do team exercises and build team morale and camaraderie is really what the office of the future will all be about. And we're already starting to see corporates and occupiers thinking about how their spaces they increase the proportion of their space to meeting spaces to allow for the right environment for those folks to come back and collaborate.
Dan, what would you add on that?
Yeah, I'd say that health and safety is obviously key. From our perspective, what we feel we've lost during lockdown on being based at home is actually the creative side of the business, the creativity. Production or productivity has been there, and that's quite easy to evidence, especially when you're a software company and you have source control. We can see exactly how many commits and what our software developers have been working on. But I do feel we've lost a lot of creativity, and I think coming back to office would be largely around collaboration, and that's what our staff have been asking for. And I'm back in the office today with just myself and another colleague, but when we're present and they can see the office is open and we've got a lot of health and safety measures in place, that has actually had a viral effect where other team members say, okay, right, I'm going to come in next week. So that's really helping too.
Yeah, it is. A lot of it is about confidence, I think, isn't it? And across absolutely everything, whether that's going to shops or offices or any areas of life now. So Dan, how are you using tech in your buildings and those of your customers to adapt to the new normal?
And definitely one of the really helpful things that happened was a lot of the technology we already had in the market prior to lockdown or COVID-19 has just become even more relevant. So that starts out with like the user's journey to the building. That's both the journey of the visitor to the building and the staff. we've had a self-serviced access control system out there for a long time, which means that you register for the app publicly in the App Store. You fill out a questionnaire. This questionnaire can have health and safety questionnaires and guidelines attached to it. You're then sent a digital credential to access the building. The sort of technologies we implement have the ability for you to not even have to touch the reader. If you've got an automatic door or speed lane, it will open automatically by waving your hand and triggering it, which is very important. That then moves on to lifts, so we can actually select the floor from our lift panel within the app, and that will take you up to your floor. So essentially, you can complete a journey from entrance to your desk without touching a surface if the right technologies are in place. That is then extended, obviously, into lighting and climate control. And quite interestingly, I never thought this would happen, but when we had a questionnaire out to our own team, air quality was one of the main things. We actually have like a ground floor office, and you can't open the windows. We've got lots of natural light, but they were worried about the ventilation. Now, our app also has air quality monitoring built into it through a sensor platform, and also controls the air handling unit, so we can make sure and guarantee you have as much fresh air as possible. And I sort of answered my team members sort of saying, you don't realize what AHU we have, you know, it's over specified for our space. We can get pumping an extraordinary amount of fresh air, more than a typical office, but obviously it's about evidencing that, and obviously having that in the app and having that visible is key. We've also had obviously desk booking being key, so we've always had a desk booking platform that's now being used more extensively than it was previously. One of the great things around that is that the fact that it will enable you to manage the health and safety, because you'll know how many people you're coming to the office. You can run a cleaning roster based on the spaces they accessed, and you can link that to our sensor data. So I do believe desk booking will become more and more popular. It's also a great way for a flex operator to meter and charge for it, similar to a utility. Food ordering has been a key piece. A lot of our large buildings have their own cafeteria, or that's a bad word for it. I always use that. I shouldn't get told off, but it's, you know, a nice catering option, like a trendy coffee bar, etc. Again, pre-ordering there, helping avoiding queues is really important. And then obviously this is all wrapped up in our dashboard, where you can see all the metrics against these sensors. Like, you know, we're already trending in our dashboards how much occupancy is growing in our buildings week by week, and our clients have access to that. And then finally, that sort of links into social contact tracing. So obviously, those that opt in within our app, and those that are using it for access to the building, will know if one of these team members was to contract COVID, we'd be able to go back and contact trace and alert people through the app that they should be tested appropriately.
Okay, thank you. Sebastian, covering that question, perhaps also particularly focusing on people arriving into offices, perhaps for the first time, and what Convene are doing to inspire confidence in people to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I think the importance of inspiring that confidence is about helping companies bring their workforces back, but to help those returning to feel safe. And so a lot of the technology that we're using is around health, fitness, well-being, and so on. And so in the US, we have a partnership with the primary healthcare provider called Eden Health. That facility is integrated into our native Convene app. And so if someone is returning to a Convene location, they can either show up and complete various sign-in procedures, including the agreement to a waiver that they aren't suffering symptoms and so on, like you'd expect, or they can pre-complete that test, including the submission of a photograph of a thermometer testing reading, which enables them to flash their app as if they were going through fast track in security or customs, so that they're able to enter the building quicker. Because I think the first time people go back, it's all about making sure that that experience is and isn't a long queue. It's an uphill battle to get people back, I think, for many corporates at the moment, given the potential for a second spike. So how do we really inspire people to get back and give them the confidence? I think it's about making that seamless through the use of technology. And then when they are in the office, enabling them to order food via the app, book meeting rooms, and have a seamless kind of experience provided by technology. ultimately reducing the risk of them leaving the office to go and get a sandwich if we're able to provide food within that location as well. So tech plays a part, but it's really the glue that stitches together the wider experience, that the whole part has to be thought about from an operations perspective. And we've recently, about 6 weeks ago or so, released a completely new set of operating procedures, which contemplate everything from the arrival experience through to the serving of food, through to additional services around electrostatic cleaning of furniture, through to additional air purification, through to how our staff interact with your team and so on. So I think a document generally and a process and set of procedures that are really designed to give people confidence to come back.
Okay, thank you. We had quite an interesting discussion last week in one of our roundtable meetings in the southwest on what people were doing. And temperature testing isn't something that seems to be happening so much in the UK at the moment, but one of our members in Bristol has got that going, and that people are tested as they come in, and hopefully that's giving people more confidence as well to come in themselves and also to be with other people. So looking more broadly, what other tech is being implemented now in flexible workspaces to help make the return to offices smoother now that social distancing and other safety measures are needed? And I think I'm hearing a range of things. But Dan, do you want to start on that one?
Yeah, I think in addition to the sort of technologies I've covered already, we're definitely seeing an increase of obviously marketing the space for regional offices. And so the technology sort of moves away from like in-office technology to the platforms. And a number of our customers are currently advertising their spaces for their HQs with Dynamics. So say you've got a central London office, you can populate it with some basic HR data, no personal data, and it will then show you clusters of areas where you can find an office for regional locations. This then can be linked in to provide access to those spaces through our app. So that means that you'd be able to create sort of like a membership to local offices for those staff members that don't necessarily want to travel into central London, but want to use a regional office. But then you can actually see if they're using it and whether it's working for them.
Okay. Sebastian, is there anything else that you'd add on a more looking more broadly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think specifically to COVID, I mean, we spent a lot of time redesigning clients' work suites. So design tools that are associated with enabling us to reduce the density that our clients occupy their suites to. Visualization tools, as Dan touched upon, but virtual viewing tools to enable remote teams to be able to see prospective suites and assist with the marketing. But really a core focus for us has been developing two proprietary tools, one being a virtual meetings product. So these webinars work great when there's a few of us, but we're not exchanging contact numbers. We're not peeling off into separate groups and having a sort of virtual coffee with each other. We're not flicking through additional slides in the presentation. This morning, this is great, but we haven't sent everyone a bacon sandwich, or we haven't sent them the hospitality you might expect if you come to a Convene meeting, as well as overlaying all of the production staff through lighting, through technology support, green rooms, and so on that you would experience if you spoke at an event that Convene hosts for many of our customers. So that the alignment and the bringing together of all of that live event experience and bringing it digitally has been a big focus for us, building out a product called our virtual meetings tool. And then secondly, bringing the Convene experience to the home. So we know that folks have been working from home and will continue to do so, perhaps not as much as they have been, might be more of a hybrid model. But how do we bring we tasked ourselves with looking at how we bring the experience, the products, the services, the community to individuals, where at the same time, lots of companies have struggled with consistency or with employee engagement. And so whereas you may go into a Convene on a Friday morning because that's when you do Pilates or you enjoy some of the event programming, how do we bring that to you without you needing to come in on that Friday morning if that's now your day you work from home? So that's a product called Convene at Home that is available through our app and available to our members, and will become available to others as we grow out the offering there as well.
Okay, thank you. Dan, I think everybody's always intrigued on sort of future technologies that are coming, and what's ahead of us that's going to change our lives for work. Is there any? Can you give us any insights on what's coming that might make a big impact on flexible workspaces, either for the operators or for their customers?
Well, interesting. I think it's not something that doesn't really already exist, but it will be adopted more, which is automation. I think that linking all these systems together into a common platform will be key. Typically, to understand, when someone logs into their PC, that same login can be used through single sign-on. Now, that's been around for a long time, but not many companies are adopting it. And what will make this even more powerful is, because we're collecting such a vast data set through machine learning, which is sort of a subset of AI, which it can really give you some interesting insights into your data. That will then start to predict exactly how much space an occupier needs, and then it can procure that space dynamically for a booking platform, a little bit like how you can book a flight. That will be the exact same platform where there will be APIs out to all the different providers. It will provide dynamic pricing based on location, and then again, once the space has been selected, provision access to that space dynamically. So there will be a lot less administration in providing your product to the market. So I think the operators that sort of really adopt that and integrate with open APIs, create APIs for their space, will be the ones that will reap the benefits from this technology.
Okay. Sebastian, is there anything, and you've touched on a number of things that Convene are doing, is there anything that's happening perhaps in the US at the moment that isn't happening here, that you could see a trend that's coming in the future?
Sure, I think, and trends across Europe as well. I think, echoing Dan's point around personalization, ultimately learning more about our customers, so that as they grow with us or as they come into their spaces, we know much more about them. I think demand-based pricing, akin to the hotel and the airline businesses, is a really exciting development area going forward. We're very focused on operating spaces for landlords, operating spaces for occupiers, and then also working and helping folks work remotely. When we think about inventory, we have our own inventory. That inventory really is dynamic. You might have 2 units next to each other that might be 10-person suites, but they could also be a 20-person suite. If they become a 20-person suite, what changes about that suite? Maybe it's now got slightly different specification, different views, and so on. So technology that supports that view of being very flexible around our inventory is definitely something we're very excited about as well.
Okay, Dan, is there anything you'd add on that?
Yeah, I think that other things that will happen, if there's a hybrid model of working from home, it's how companies can provide services such as improved internet connection. One of the biggest things we suffer with is that we have a really inconsistent internet between all our different team members, and we'd love to just get them upgraded to the latest internet, but it's not always going to work that well. So 5G, hopefully, which is coming soon, will really help alleviate that. And when we could easily ship out a 5G modem to our staff to help create that consistency, and that's we think is going to be one of the biggest draws back to our office. Is we have an unbelievably powerful connected office, over a gigabit data coming in, and actually a lot of our staff are working from home, logging into the PCs at work because they're far more superior and powerful. So you can just remote desktop in, you're using all the resource here. It's actually quite noisy out there, you can hear all the fans whirring, especially for the 3D modeling. So yeah, I think that's definitely a key aspect. I think also, like, it's not just the tech, but some of the things you can publish through the tech, like the content, lots of stuff that Sebastian sort of touched on, where Perkbox and those sort of platforms are having sort of increasing popularity before lockdown. Now it's about local offers, local gym classes, and those kind of things. So I think having a content platform where you can publish content out to all your members, but it's for local offers. So it's just doing what you was doing previously, but actually a little bit more research. And I think the members that have regional offices are really in a good place for this, because they'll have people boots on ground who will know where the good gyms, where the good cafes, get them logged into your CMS system, get them publishing really interesting content what's local to their area and relevant, I think there'll be a huge uptake in that.
Yeah.
Alongside health and safety as well, obviously that's key.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi speeds issue has definitely been something that I think has varied so much, hasn't it, for home working, and my colleague who would normally be uploading these videos afterwards to a YouTube channel found that it was taking her hours and hours and hours, whereas I can do it in 10 minutes at home. So there's a real difference at the moment. Okay, so finally, we, as the trade association, we have members of all sizes, and we have we have a number of the larger operators, but also lots of companies who are just running single centres or maybe one or two. For those that are the smaller companies that maybe don't have the resources of the larger operators, what would be your tips for the one or two technology innovations that it's worth investing in because they will make a big impact? Sebastian, can we start with you on that?
Yeah, I think from a tips perspective, I think it's about partnering with best-in-class providers. So, Dan has alluded to and pointed out the shared partnership we have at 22 Bishopsgate, working with AXA, the landlord there in that space. So I think it's a small industry. We like to view ourselves as partners to the industry, and so people are very welcome to come and see our space. I'd love to show people 22 Bishopsgate when it opens. Come and see what's working in our location. That location is also a meetings and event space, which is not really a competitor of many of the folks that are part of this association. So by way of partnership, we run referral partnerships with many organizations, and so I'd very much like to extend that out to everyone as part of FlexSA. If you have organizations that you think want to host an event or a conference, then by all means refer them to me. I'm sabigail@convene.com. Come and see our space, see what technology is working in our location. We're happy to talk through who we work with and so on. So I think it's about being close as an industry and staying close to partners.
Thank you. One of the things I did really enjoy was being able to go and visit the variety of spaces run with our members. So looking forward to the time when that's more possible again. And Dan, on that question, what advice would you have for smaller operators?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we have small operators that are our customers. We have large-scale buildings like 22 Bishopsgate, and that's because our model is software as a service, and it's built similar to the utility and the amount of space you have live on our platform. So that really helps out, give like the smaller companies in the market access to technologies like ours. Something interestingly that's been happening quite recently, and it's actually Sebastian just alluded to at 22 Bishopsgate, is that if our technology is implemented as part of the base build, there's a tremendous amount of value that the operators within our buildings can extract from that. And that means that, for instance, one of our buildings, Future Works in Slough, we're able to deploy to all the flex operators within the building our app, and they can use that for their members to enter, and they can publish their own content on there. They can even customize the look and feel for their branding. So it really helps provide a platform for them, for their members. And so I'd definitely stress to anyone who's on here today that has an office which has our technology, please speak to us, because we can actually set you up on the app and set your members up on the app. And there's no concerns around data. All the data's kept private. It's all been agreed by GDPR lawyers. So you're not giving your landlord access to your members' data. It's actually just enabling them to use the space more effectively and the services within the building. And sometimes that's just things that the occupiers don't even know exist. Even our staff in our HQ didn't realize how good the cycle amenities were within our building until we launched our app, and we could show the shower availability in the app. We could show how many cycle spaces were available. It wasn't until they got access, like, what, we've got showers in the basement. It was like, yeah, and so that's just really helping sell the office back to our team. So definitely look into that, and I think that's going to happen throughout lots of buildings, not buildings that are enabled by ourselves but by our competitors. That there's a lot of workplace apps there, and if you find out that your landlord's operating such a scheme, definitely engage with them, because I think there's a lot of value, and it's not going to cost you much to engage with that.
Yeah, so technology is definitely going to play an ever-increasing part, isn't it? I read an article earlier that is an area where there's an awful lot of jobs being advertised still is in the IT sector, so which I think probably demonstrates as well that there are lots of innovations coming forward that will need people to be working on them and delivering them. So thank you very much, Dan and Sebastian. That was an interesting session, and we will post this probably onto our YouTube channel tomorrow for anyone that's joined part way through, perhaps didn't hear all of it, or to catch up on. Our webinars are going to take a break now for August, but we will be back in probably in September with more. Thanks to Zoe, who's been organising them over the last few months. We've managed to cover quite a variety of topics, but I think perhaps in the late summer, early autumn, we will look to cover things that aren't just coronavirus related, and perhaps more general topics for the industry. So if anybody has thoughts on what they would like to see covered, or indeed if they'd like to cover topics themselves, please do get in touch. But thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks.